Greetings, humans and non-human. Yes, I know you're watching, you blue fuck. Anyway, today's album is Lucid Planet 2 by, surprisingly, Lucid Planet. Now, I first listened to the first Lucid Planet album in late 2018, and honestly, I did it dirty by not putting OLM 53 at least on the honourable mentions of my best songs of 2019 list. It's one of the best albums I've ever heard. As such, this year there's a chance for redemption, and when I first heard the album's singles, I was worried that the album would fall into the same trap as Fear Inoculum. The singles, Anamnesis and Zenith, have Tool written all over them, but they pulled a bit of a sneaky on me. We will get to that later, but first let's start with song 1 and single 1, Anamnesis. There are strong traces of OLM53 here, as well as Tool's Invincible, which is a big part of why the thoughts I had on the first listen were somewhat negative. Don't get me wrong, I love Invincible, but I don't like Fear Inoculum. It's too long and too slow and too 7/8, but Anamnesis is better than Invincible, like way better. That's a bit harsh on Invincible, but who cares? Lucid Planet have a very specific kind of groove that nobody else can match. It's found in many of their tracks, and I absolutely love it. It takes up about the entire second half, like a full 6 minutes of Anamnesis, which gives you plenty of time to adjust to the new vocals. And while I really miss Dan spent 20 minutes looking for his last name No Avails lyrics, bassist Luke Turner's vocals are accompanied by those of Jade Alice, and this gives the band far more harmonic diversity, which would otherwise be impossible. This casting choice, as it were, has a major impact on the album as a whole, and with no song more than track 2, Entrancement. This slow, tribal crawl of a song gives a feeling of some fireside ritual dance. Luke's vocals are heavily altered throughout the track, giving Jade centre stage. Generally, I'm not a fan of massive voice alteration like this, but they've struck gold here. I don't know if it's the haunting flute or the low synth or the didgeridoo, but it all works perfectly together to produce what is, at the moment, my favourite track on the album, and one of my songs of the year so far. It's hypnotising. The only problem is that now Grey's Feet off the first album has just been overshadowed. But I think that we can deal with that. It's perfectly understandable. Something that isn't understandable is the thought process that went into song 3, Organic Hard Drive. Oh boy, what a madness. This song starts off relatively sane, with just a keyboard and some nice relaxing birdsong. Then things start getting intense, and the longer it goes on, the more electronic and strange things get. By the 5.5 minute mark, the song has switched genre completely, and has become a full-on rave song with hints of dubstep. And it's genius. The only thing I can compare it to really is The Sky Moves Sideways by Porcupine Tree. That's the Daily Stephen Wilson mention out of the way. With added distorted guitars, of course. I must say, this is one of the most innovative songs I've ever heard, and the surprisingly gentle ending synth and echoey vocals rounded off wonderfully. All in all, if you're a fan of The Divine Grass, you may want to spend a few hours with this song on repeat. But you didn't hear that from me. Anyway, before the roses come knocking, I should move on to track 4, Offer. After the craziness of Organic Hard Drive, Offer helps ground you by simplifying things back to a manageable level, while keeping just enough didgeridoo to remind you that you are in fact listening to an Australian band. This is the most lyric-focused track on the album, thanks to how chill it is compared to the others, giving the 80 vocals a lot more space. But God does this song grow in a wonderful way. When the electric guitar kicks in, it all falls into place so beautiful. It also boasts the best song transition on the album, seamlessly flowing into track 5, On the Way. This is the closest the album gets to pure metal. Not that it stays that way, of course, oh no. But the music up until around the 4-minute mark is pretty straightforward metal. at least by my standards. The harmonies are back and forth here too. It's kind of an intro and an outro to the heavy section. The song then gets meditative as the lyrics fade away, leaving an open space for the tasteful guitar and drums to fill out. Again, things start getting a bit trippy, and the vocals return to give it just a sense of closure before the long instrumental section, which shifts wonderfully into track 6, Digital Ritual. And we're starting off slow again. The song spends the first 2 minutes making sure that the last thing that you would expect from the song is straight up dubstep. Yeah, this isn't Organic Hard Drive's hint of dubstep. This is something straight out of 2013. There's having balls, and then there's putting a dubstep track on a tribal metal album. Good luck finding a reason to call Lucid Planet a Tool clone now. But seriously, this is great. I haven't listened to a dubstep song I've liked for 7 years or so. I wouldn't even call myself a music fan back then. The only band I knew that was metal was Metallica, and I knew they were metal because it was in the name. But I'm getting off topic. Let's move back to the second to last track, Face the Sun. This is the hardest track for me to pin down. The best way I can find to describe it is that it's very Eastern. It's also the second longest song on the album, coming in at just under 12 minutes. Unlike the longest song though, Anamnesis, it's not content to stay in one place, constantly shifting between ideas almost as soon as they're settled. While right now, Entrancement is my pick for the top album track, Face the Sun is a very close second, and thanks to its length, there is still space for it to grow in my heart. I'm not saying it will be my favourite, but it might be. Soon. Like, by the time I finish writing this, soon. Also, that false ending is cheeky, and I love it. Okay, on to the final track, number 8, Zenith. With a name like that, it better be good. But the song is willing to make you wait. All of the many atmospheric sections of this album are great, but this one might just be my favourite. Especially when that guitar comes in, it makes it known that the journey is almost over. But we must wait still. The band made sure to savour this moment and give it as much weight as possible. It's rolling and swirling and growing and letting it all build up as much as possible. Then after nearly 9 full minutes they kick it into overdrive and make sure that that last 10 seconds has everything they've got in it before letting it gently slip away into nothing as the album draws to a close. What an experience this album is. Yeah, it's wide and expansive, and willing to step well out of all but most progressive artists' comfort zones. I must say, my fears of an overly long, dull album were totally unfounded. It's only been out there 3 days as I'm writing this, but I can say confidently that I will be listening to this album for years to come. Which brings me to the final question. Is this album better than Lucid Planet 1? Fuck if I know. It's damn close, that's for sure, and considering the extra pressure that must have been on the band and the extreme freedom that the album expressive, I can only call it a triumph and leave the question of which album is better buried where it should be, to be honest. And that's the end. I've been Rizalcon, you've been unreasonably patient, and I hope that you will be in the future also. Goodbye the fucking album.